Hi there, I'm Ken Majumdar. In this video, I'm going to share with you 10 tips to make money or extra money during recessionary times like we're facing right now. Obviously, what's happening right now in the world and the United States is the economy is slowing down rapidly because interest rates have been rising. You're seeing layoffs from many companies, including tech firms. So all over the world, the economy is slowing, which is what the Federal Reserve Bank and other central banks have been trying to engineer, given that there's been so much inflation. So this kind of a slowdown in economic activity is called a recession. And during recessionary times, people often lose their jobs or find that some of their income sources have reduced. So that's why I'm sharing these 10 tips to make extra money during an economic recession. So here's my number one tip. These aren't particularly in order. So I'm just going to share 10 tips. So tip number one, look through your closets, look through your stuff and sell items that you no longer need. The great thing now is that there are websites like eBay, like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace are three that come immediately to mind. And if you have things that you don't need, which most of us do, what you can do is you can go through your items, find things you no longer need. You can research on eBay or any of the other sites that I mentioned, find out what items like that are selling for, and list those items on one of those websites and sell them to generate some extra cash. A second idea to generate money is if you own a house or if you have an apartment with an extra room, websites like Airbnb and VRBO can be used to generate extra money simply by renting out room that you don't need or you have in excess. But another idea is obviously a lot of times people do go away for vacations or for visits to family, etc. So you can actually rent your place while you're not using it out on these websites as well, just occasionally, and generate extra money that way. Another great idea is to look for part-time and temporary work. Now, the good thing right now is though we have a recession, there are also many, many unfilled jobs, and there's also many temporary jobs. So if you are looking to make some extra money, a good way to approach it would be to find, look through classifieds or use your network, use sites like LinkedIn to look for temporary or part-time work. So there's unskilled labor, things like, in logistics and fulfillment, packaging, things like that, which are often seasonal. Right now, we're going close to the Christmas holidays. So seasonally, a lot of companies hire to prepare for a holiday rush. But in addition, there are part-time jobs that you can get. So an example of this would be, if you have a car, you can do something like driving for the ride-sharing sites like Uber, but you could be a delivery person for websites like Instagram. So really, in today's freelance economy, there's a lot of different ways, even if you have only a few hours a week to work, to generate extra cash. Also, another idea is if you have hobbies or interests, you can do something like starting a blog, or sharing your expertise in an area that you're passionate about. Could be on YouTube, could be through a blog. Of course, the thing to note about this strategy is that it does take time to kick in. So this is not a way to make quick money, but it's definitely something that if you plant the seeds, you can increase your opportunities to create ongoing cash flow over time. Another idea is to start a tutoring or a teaching business. So this would be another idea. So if you're really good at something, consider teaching somebody about it. And the cost required is actually very, very minimal. So that would be in terms of teaching or consulting or coaching type businesses, of which there are many, many different opportunities. So in order to do this, make a list of the things that you're really good at and you're passionate about and that you're passionate about sharing with others. Could be a skill that you have learned. It could be something, a hobby, and consider teaching others how to be as skilled as you are in that particular area. Now, if you are skilled in something very specialized, for example, it could be video editing, it could be obviously construction, carpentry, plumbing. There's many websites where you can share your skills on those fronts and therefore generate extra revenue. Another idea to make money during a recession, and this is kind of intuitive, but also somewhat counterintuitive, is cut your expenses. So one of the things that I find is that a lot of folks, even folks living paycheck to paycheck, they probably don't realize how much they spend on just things that could be cut out. This could be, things like meals out. It could be just a number of different items. So to do this, track your spending over a period of time, say a week. Write down everything you spend money on, and then look through that list at the end of the week and try to see what items can you both economize on, that is, find a way, if you really need them, to buy them better, or just cut them out entirely. And I think most people would be surprised as to how much they can probably save just by cutting out frivolous things, impulse purchases, for example. So by actually going through this exercise and saving money on things they don't need, that's almost as good as earning money, because that money can be put into other uses or other savings, or can give you the cushion that you're lacking right now. Now, here's a couple of ideas that involve investing or starting a business. So one of the counterintuitive things about recessionary times is that, yes, sure, people are losing their jobs. Things as a whole are going downward in terms of economic activity. But the important thing to know about recessions is that the average recession in the West actually only lasts about 18 months. So let's say that the typical recession is 12 months to 24 months. And that means that it's going to be a temporary slowdown of economic activity. And then the economy is going to start growing again. So actually what you find if you study businesses and successful people is that many times they started the thing that made them very successful during bad times. So as counterintuitive as it may seem, recessions are actually great times to both invest and to start new things. So my next few ideas are going to be related to this general theme. So one way to benefit from a recession and generate extra income, now not necessarily right away, is to take advantage of the recession to make investments. So number one, consider investing in the stock market. Because during recessions, generally speaking, there's big areas and many companies in the stock market that are selling for much cheaper than they were when people were more optimistic and times were better in the economy. So the stocks that you buy during a recession typically will give you higher returns if you're a long-term investor. So speaking of right now, there's many, for example, famous technology companies. I'm thinking of companies like Google, Facebook, even companies like Apple and Amazon. If you look at their price now in the stock market compared to where they were 1 year ago, they're all trading at lower prices. And so for long-term investors, starting investments during these kinds of pessimistic times during the market can actually be very beneficial. And there's many, many other companies. Now, the caveat on investing in the stock market is that you need to do your research and know what you're doing. A lot of people approach the stock market like gambling, which it should not be. So you shouldn't just be throwing money into things based on tips or based on, guesses. So if you want to invest in the stock market, but you don't want or not able to take the time and do the work to study different companies and get good at that game, then an alternative that is still a good way to invest in the stock market when things are depressed, like they are in a recession, is to use index funds, which is a low-cost, diversified way to make investments without having to pick individual companies. Another area, so this would be my next tip, would be to consider making investments in real estate. Now, real estate and stock market investments are somewhat different. And so the idea with the real estate investments is that you look in your area or an area that you know well. Properties, multifamily properties in particular, larger multifamily properties is something we do here at my firm. And so during recessions and right now, interest rates are very high. So it makes it more challenging to make the numbers work on income-based multifamily investments. However, the good news is that because interest rates are so high, the competition in a recession is much less. And the prices that you can get things at, if you're willing to buy, are also less. So the combination of buying at lower prices, getting a higher income stream, although you have to pay more for the debt to buy real estate, over time, if interest rates go back down, then you will benefit quite a bit from investments made in real estate during a more depressed time in the market. And one more tip, my last tip for this video, in terms of taking advantage of recessions, and this is probably my longest term tip, is to consider starting a business. As I mentioned, many successful people started businesses during the recessions in the past. And as they established their business over time, when the economy started growing again, they started growing with the economy. And then, some of the biggest companies in the world were originally founded during recessions. Now, as counterintuitive as it may be, the reason recessions are good times to start businesses are a couple things. Number one, your opportunity cost may be lower because, let's say if you have extra time or you lost your job, that's a good time to start a recession. You already have the time needed to, think about what business to do and how to establish and grow that business. so that it's prepared for when things are better. Another reason recessions are a good time to start a business is because usually there's good people who are available. Salaries and wages are less. There's less competition for talent. There may be more room even in the market because established players may, over the course of a recession, really cut back on the areas that they're serving, or some businesses may go out of business. And so, believe it or not, in capitalism, the idea of creative destruction is very much a part of capitalism. So by starting a business during a recession, you're on the creative side of the creative destruction. And as other folks get disrupted and destructed, you and your new business can really benefit. So I hope these tips were helpful. I hope you enjoyed them, and see you in my next video. Thank you.